What is going on, YouTube people? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here, aka Neo, aka Rob. Whatever one you want to toss out there, I'll answer to pretty much anything. My wife's called me worse. Today, we are going to discuss a couple different things, but all kind of revolving around the same thing. And it's finding value in like after you miss the window on something and leveraging PSA 9s and alternative lower pop cards of the same player. And the example that we're going to use for this is one Trae Young. If you guys see my guys and girls see my community posts, I noticed the other day that Trae Young silver PSA 10s, when I did the Luka video, Trae Young silver PSA 10s Prism had started to shoot up right at the same time Luka's did, which usually makes sense. Those two guys, when you're not in season, kind of run together. When one goes, then it usually lifts the other one for whatever reason. And what I also noticed a couple days later was the PSA 9s had not moved yet. So I dug in, did a little, check in, followed a couple other PSA 10 sales, because sometimes you just get the rogue PSA 10 sale and you're like, was that just like a weird one-off with some shenanigans going on? Or something really going on here? And then a couple went together and then I noticed the 9s still weren't moving. So we're just going to talk about that today. So like, comment, sub, all the YouTube stuff down below. So ideally you get in on the ground floor of the PSA 10 or whatever it is that you're looking at and you're off and running. But it's a crazy wide world out there. We all miss things. Sometimes we miss the floor. But sometimes missing the floor opens up other opportunities for you. So, like I said, we're going to talk Trae Young today. A lot of Trae Young talk today. Focused around the silver PSA 10 Prism. So, they got eliminated. The purple line here is the PSA 10. Blue line is the PSA 9. They got eliminated by the Bucks on July 4th. The series had already taken a turn at this point, and the writing was kind of on the wall. His stuff was already trending down. This card peaked in the summer at around 16 to 1700. Got a little bit down, then they made the big comeback and, ended up beating the 76ers, and it shot back up again, went down because of the Bucks, and they kind of showed flashes. It spiked back up again, and then it went right back down again after they lost. So it went from a high of around 1700 to a bottom of a little over 1K. And this happened kind of fast. He was eliminated on the 4th. And like I said, writing was kind of already on the wall. So basically July 1st, it was at 1500 and then immediately started dropping. 1475, 14, 1375, 12, 12, under 12, down to a K. Spiked back up a little bit. I'm gonna throw this one out as a rando. Another one at 1,000, a little over 1,000, around 1,000 to 1,200. Okay, so we get to July 22nd, and then this is one day after Lucas stuff started going crazy, I believe, or maybe even the same day. I think Lucas started going crazy on the 21st or the 22nd with his prices, but all of a sudden we have a shoot up to 1,300. Okay. Next one goes for 12. Then the next one goes for 13. Next one goes for 14. Next one goes for 16. In here is where I begin to take notice. And I go, well, we missed the floor. This was the floor. Missed it. All right. So is this real or not? Was this 1,600 a one-off fluke or was it real? It's followed up by a 1525, a 16, a 15, one almost 14, and then a 15 and a 1525. At this point, when I see a group like this, I'm going, okay, this looks like the new floor. Maybe it's the old dead cat bounce. Who knows? Someone mentioned that in my comments the other day. We don't really know. But Trae's a pretty popular player. This was a pretty high priced card, and we're also talking about the silver, not the base here. So I'm going to rerun these charts and we're going to start from the 22nd where this card shot up to current. So, you can see right here the general trend line over the last few months. So let's fire this up and adjust this very quickly. All right. So we're at the low point here, or one of the low points. There was a few around this $1,100-ish mark. And then we come down here. It is up 35% over the last, what would that be? About 18 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The PSA 9, however, only up 7%. Now, as a general rule of thumb, assuming you're talking, 9 to 10, and assuming the pop is not wildly off one way or the other. Every once in a while, you run into these weird cards where the PSA 10s are way lower than the 9s. We've talked about this before with Lamar Jackson base, for example. There are way fewer 10s and way more 9s. So in those cases, these rules don't apply. But assuming the pop is relatively similar, it doesn't have to be exact, but as long as it's not completely skewed one way or the other, usually about 2.75 to a little over 3x is what a PSA 9 to 10 is. I checked Luca's. Luca's is a little over 3 right now. I think it was like 3.1. Market Movers actually has a little tool for this if you don't want to do the math. So we see right here, the ratio of PSA 10 to 9 is at 3.94. I don't really use this too much. You could just generally do the math in your head fairly quickly. I'm not so concerned about like the individual decimal point numbers, but it's handy to look at very quickly. So this tells me, at this point, I believe that this rise is at least real. We have multiple consecutive sales, 1,400 and up across, a week long period. And the 9 still had not moved yet. You get to hear the 10 was going for 1,650. The 9 was still going for 300. Like, that's just not correct. That's over 5x the difference. Next one, it starts to creep up here at 366. And then we see yesterday, I'm recording this Tuesday night, so this would have been on Monday, the 10th. One went for almost, actually Tuesday the 10th. One must have sold early this morning for 387. Now, I bought one yesterday at auction. 2 went for auction early Monday evening. I watched the first one go off, and it ended at 355. And there was one ending an hour later, and I said, okay, we're gonna make a move. So I threw in 365, and it stuck, or 366.08 or some dumb number, but it was around $365-ish, give or take a buck. And I feel real good about that. There was one on my slabs for around 400. I don't know if it's still there. But when you factor in, if you're paying sales tax on eBay and shipping and whatnot, it's actually not that much more, the $400. And even $400 is a pretty fair price. Because, the at $400, that would represent around a $1,200 to $1,300 PSA 10 price. And we're actually not at that. If this thing actually is sticking at around 500, the PSA, or at around 1,500, the PSA 9 should be between $400 and $500. And we're not seeing that yet. We're just now barely seeing it start to touch 400. And you could probably argue that it might be close to a $500 card. I'll pull up Lucas here really quick. So here's Lucas. As of, I picked a day where they were both ending at around the same time. Or, there's the last PSA 10 sale was 8.9. The last PSA 9 sale was 8.6. So it's not 100% perfect. I usually like to try to find it when they line up, but it doesn't always work that way. 3.39. So a little over 3x, which is within what I would consider the realm of normalcy. Once again, we come back here to Trey, and we're at 3.94. So there's definitely some value in the Trey PSA 9. It is still relatively at a lower price. We missed the window a little bit on the 9, but if you miss the window on the 10 and you catch this fast enough, you could still find value in the lesser grades. People ask me all the time, should I buy PSA 9s? Do we like PSA 9s? Love PSA 9s. Especially on cards like this. You get in for a lower price point, which makes them honestly easier to move on the back end, and they'll lag behind a little bit, but they go up with the PSA 10. The PSA 10 will drag it along. It just might fall behind a little bit, but that creates these little areas of opportunity where you can pounce on the lower grade and strike before, because everyone flocks to the PSA 10, leaves room for the PSA 9 hanging behind for you to sneak in. And I really do think there's an interesting angle to just kind of playing in that sub $2,000 card area. They're a lot easier to move, like at trade nights and shows, or even online. You don't have to freak out as much if you got to ship a $5,000 Luka PSA 10 silver versus a $500 to $700 Trae Young silver PSA 9. So there's something to be said for sticking in the lower tier. That I'm going to call it the $500 to $2,000 tier. That's kind of where I like to do most of my work. But that's just me. You do you. I'm also not at the point where I'm ready to take risks on, $2, $3, $4, $5,000 cards. I don't feel comfortable with that yet. I want to build a bigger base before I jump up a level. But I think you could do perfectly fine just consistently working in that $500 to $2,000 range easily, and even lower. Whatever works for you. So, long story short, that is a very easy way to find value. If you missed the window on something, you'll be kicking yourself. Damn it! Why didn't I buy Trae at 1,000 or 1,100 on his PSA 10 silver? However, you could still sneak in and get it. Just take it at a different angle. Now, let's take this one step forward. Whether we like it or not, Prism Silvers kind of lead the market, at least for basketball. What the PSA 10 silver price does, usually the rest of the stuff follows at some degree or another. So if we look at Trae base, I was just curious what this has done. I also ran this from the 22nd, the same day the silver took off. PSA 10, PSA 9. And what do you know? They're both up about 18 to 20%. 17% here on the 9, 16% on the 10. So those have kind of lifted slowly with the silver. Silver's up more. I believe the silver was up 30%. Check 34%. So considering this is a base card, it's high pop. There will be more of these added onto the population reports. Luka's up to 18,000, I think. Trae's only at 10,000. So there will be more of these coming. I'm not saying run out and buy Trae base. Probably missed the window on this one, at least at the floor. Not saying that you still can't make money on this card. And once again, when we say invest in, a PSA 10 base card, it's not you're going to hold it for 10 years. You're going to buy it in August and look to sell it in October. Could this card be $500 by October? Sure. Could it be $250 by October? Sure. That's the risks that we take. The other angle that I like to approach this on is lower pop alternatives from other sets. So in this case, I went to my second go-to is always Optic Hollows. We know that I'm a sucker for Optic Hollows. They get me every time. So PSA 10, PSA 9 Optic Hollow, and this is a case where this is pretty low pop. PSA 9 is only pop 320 on his Optic Hollow. PSA 10's 156. There is not a lot of these. Even Luka's, I think, is sub 300. I think his is like 275, 280, give or take, on his 9 or on his PSA 10. And I think the 9's about the same boat. These are very tough grades, and they are very, very nice looking cards. What I was curious about here is if these had moved yet, because these do not sell as often. We are looking at a 90-day spread. 90-day spread on his Optic. Only 11 PSA 10s have sold, and the last one sold on 8/2. Okay, for just about $1,000. The one prior to that on 7/4. That's almost a month between. So this is right after they lost. Someone dumped one. Here we have it right before 1,400. This was while they were still going strong. This was probably right during the 76ers, right around when they beat the 76ers. 622, 621. We have two almost $1,400 sales. This is the day they got eliminated. It went to 960. So let's rerun these charts here from 7/4 onward to get a better idea. It's only going to be a couple sales, but so on the 10, it was up 6% from 960 to 1025. His silver Over the same time frame, actually a narrower window because we were going from 722, not 74, but lower pop card, not going to have as many sales, is up 36%. Now, one of these have not sold in 8 days. And the last one that did went for 1025. The 9 is actually up 40%, but the starting average was a lot lower, so it's playing a little bit of catch up here. This is sitting at 4x. I actually don't mind this one being at 4x. I do think this is probably a little too cheap at 250, but this is one of those ones where the pop counts are a little bit more skewed. PSA 10 is at 150. The PSA 9 is at 320. So there's twice as many 9s as 10s. That's at the point where it starts to matter a little bit. So I'm not going to go gaga over the fact that the 9 is 4x the 10, or the 10 is 4x the 9, rather. I do think that this is too cheap based off of the fact that I believe this is way too cheap. So this is basically, 960 to 1025 is not a huge difference. It's a 6% change. When we know the silver prism is up 35% in the same time. That tells me if you could find one of these for $1,000, you're getting a real good deal on it. Now, that's the trouble, finding one for $1,000 bucks. I can tell you right now, online, you're probably not going to be able to find one. There are none on eBay, at least at $1,000 price point. I think the cheapest one was $1,500, maybe even $1,600, and there are none on MySlabs. There were 2 on MySlabs for $1,000. I bought one. And the other one sold very quickly after I bought mine. I did not buy that one. I do not know where that one went. But I got that one for $970, I believe. Should have it in a couple days. But that was a case where I saw what the PSA 10 silver was doing, went and looked at this, immediately saw that, in my opinion, at $1,000, that card was mispriced, and then scoured the internet trying to find one. And found one and pulled the trigger on it. That was on Friday. I bought it right before I went on Dakota's live stream on Friday night. So that should be here tomorrow or today, depending on when you're watching this, I guess, Wednesday. So if you could find one at a show or something, or someone online is just basing their stuff off the old comps, I think that card's undervalued. I think if one went for auction right now, and there's not any up for auction, it would probably go for between $1,300 and $1,400 would be my guess, at least. I actually think it might go for a little more than that, given the low pop nature of the card. So, but that's a way. And I didn't even look at Select. You could absolutely apply the same rules to Select. Whatever market tool you use. I like Market Movers. Link down below, coupon code, all that jazz. You could dive in and do the research. Have Select Silvers moved up. I don't like to get too cute on this. And what I mean by that is I am not going to go look at every single Trae Young parallel out there and be like, well, that one didn't move up 30%. Got to buy it. I have, and I'm probably going to end up doing a separate video on this at some point in time. I've been noodling on this for a while. I have really been trying to limit my buying patterns to what I'm going to call cards that matter. We're seeing this more and more, especially like with Select. Select football and Select basketball, they're retail now. We all know that. But there also is a trillion different shiny cards. There's a million of them. And you could really get lost in the weeds really quickly. Some are going to be low pop. They're all going to look kind of lowish because, there's so many different ones. But how many people care about a purple disco swirly ball Trae Young? You know what I mean? Or I guess LaMelo Ball in this case. But you get my point. Do we care about the green cyclone parallel? I'm literally making these up off the top of my head. They might exist for all I know. Who knows? But, there's a million of these things now. And how many of them actually matter? It's cute to say, oh, buy the numbered stuff, super low pop and all this. Sure. More for a long-term play. And how many of these guys do we really care about for 5-10 years? Most of these cards that we're buying and selling, we're buying into, holding for a few months, selling it, taking the money, rinse, repeating, building up the bankroll, and buying the things that we truly want with it. Someone that's truly next generational, maybe it's a slightly different story. Luca numbered stuff I view a lot differently than I view LaMelo numbered stuff. Because Luca to me is a transcendent player. LaMelo to me is not. He's just a fine NBA player, maybe an all-star, probably an all-star. So I am trying to essentially narrow my scope. When I look to buy cards of a player, I am looking for silvers or hollows, whatever the brand is that I'm looking at, whatever their true silver is. So in Prism, that's silver. Select, that's silver. In Optic, that's hollow. I will also look at color match. So from the National, I picked up the Trae Young Red Ice because it matches his jersey. Luca, you look at blue. I had the Vlad blue refractor on the baseball side of things that matched. Because things like that are always going to be in high demand and always going to be extremely easy to move. And there's always going to be a little extra premium put on them. There's a reason why, and once again, I don't want to get too derailed on this, but the basic gist of it is low pop does not equal high demand, if that makes sense. I might be not explaining this the greatest, but people freak out not freak out, but people don't understand why Prism red, white, and blues and greens are super low pop, but they don't really sell for a ton over base. And why don't they sell for more than silvers? The pop's way lower. Sure, the pop's lower, but there's a demand side of that matters too. Pop is balanced out by demand. It's a set of scales. Think of it like the scales of justice. Just because something's low pop does not mean it has high demand to drive the price higher. See greens and red, white, and blues. Silver is lower pop than base, but has very high demand. So the price goes up. Greens, red, white, and blues, to use Prism as an example again, have lower pops than silvers, but have much lower demand than silvers. So the prices don't escalate as much. Even the red ices, like the red ice tray, the color match, goes for less than the silver, but it goes for more than red ice on a lot of other players, if that makes sense. A red ice on a tray is going to go for more than a red ice of Jason Tatum. They're different rookie classes, but you get the point. Same way, if you look at the Jason Tatum green sells for an astronomical sum of money. Actually, way outsells as silver. If you look at a Donovan Mitchell green, it doesn't get that much love. No one cares. It sells for a decent premium, but not as much of a silver. So I have really narrowed down when I look to buy into a player. I want silver, I want hollow, or I want some type of color match, whether it's red ice, ruby wave on a red jersey, blue. And it's not always going to happen. You're not always going to find that. But if I can, I will gravitate towards that. But that's just me. Once again, you do you. I'm doing me. This is what works for me. Because I know, once again, on the back end, selling is hard. And I want to be on the market with things that people want. And if you walk into anywhere with silver PSA 10s of a hot player, people are going to want them. Steve talked about this on a lot of his national stuff. On the show floor, his super low pop, super rare stuff, dealers really didn't know what to do with it. They liked it, they wanted it, but they had problems finding a value for it that everyone could agree on. Now at trade night, he did really good with that stuff because it's not a dealer versus buyer mentality. It's two guys sitting down at a table trying to figure it out. So it just works a little differently. But on the show floor, if you had Luca Silver Prisms, dealers would gobble those up all day long. Everyone knows what the price is on those. The dealer knows if he puts that on his case in a good price, it'll move, especially at somewhere like the National. No problem. And even if you're not a National, just a regional show. A Luca Silver Prism, someone is always going to be looking for that card. They're rare, but they're not super rare. They move enough that there's plenty of comps for it. Everyone kind of knows what the deal is, but there is demand there for them all the time. So once again, it kind of got a little derailed there, but I think it's still kind of all on point. Long story short, when one card shoots up, specifically the silver PSA 10 Prism. Dive into that player and look at all the other stuff. Verify that the PSA 10 Silver Prism sales are legit as best as you can. And it's not, don't take just one sale and then go bonkers. Try to find a trend of at least a couple sales. Maybe you miss a little bit of a window on buying the 9, but you're better safe than sorry on that, in my opinion. And then if you missed the window on the 9, go look at other stuff, specifically lower pop, rarer stuff. That's exactly what I did when I bought the Vlad Purple. The dealer had the Vlad Purple based off a month-old comp. He priced it at a comp that was a month old. Over that month, Vlad stuff had gone up 30 to 40% at least. And he did not adjust the comp on the purple because it was low pop and they didn't sell very often. So I got into that card for an old comp. I basically did the same thing, in my opinion. We'll see when the next one sells for, with the Trae Young Optic Holo PSA 10, getting it at a little under $1,000 when his silver has gone up 35% in the last 2 weeks. And there just hasn't been a recent sale on the Optic Holo to show that that has happened yet. So sometimes you could use the comps to your advantage if people aren't on top of it, or sometimes they just don't care. You know, the guy that sold me the Optic Holo, he probably made a nice return on that, I'm guessing. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have sold it. So, you know, he got his. Maybe he knows, yeah, I'm selling a little bit under. Maybe this card's probably worth a little bit more. I'm making my 20% on it. This guy could get it. He could do his thing with it. If he could immediately flip it for another 10%, more power to him. Everyone's happy then. That's the way it kind of should work. So, but like, comment, subscribe. Sorry for the weird little turn there, but I think it was kind of relevant. Hopefully it helped you guys and girls out. But yeah, sub if you haven't, smash the like buttons. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. We will catch you on the next one. Peace.